So I'm going up to the McDonald's and I reach into my pocket and I pull out $1.96. And at that moment, tears just start flooding into my eyes because as a grown man, I couldn't feed myself. And that was a turning point because right there I declared, I will never, ever again allow somebody to dictate if or when I ate.
Welcome to Built on Behavior with your host, Brooke Trometer. Welcome, everybody, to Built on Behavior. I am your host, Brooke Trometer. Most people think success comes from what you know, but when the moment actually shows up, when the pressure is real, and when it's time to actually execute, knowledge isn't really what shows up. You do. And today's guest has spent years in environments where performance isn't optional. From Hollywood sets to high-pressure stunt work, he's built his career on one standard: becoming the person who can't be ignored when it matters most. Now he's taken that same standard and turned it into a framework helping entrepreneurs and high performers eliminate hesitation, build confidence, and actually execute at the level they say they want. Because at the end of the day, your results don't come from what you know, they come from who you are when it's time to perform. So, Gian Shaw, I am really looking forward to this conversation today. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal. I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you so much for having me on as a guest. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, for people who don't know, we've actually kind of known each other for a little while now. And prior to all of this, I have really enjoyed getting to know you over the last, I don't know, probably 6 months or so, right?
Yeah, it's been about 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been about 6 months. So it's been really cool. So I am really excited to have this conversation with you because you are kind of this, high achiever, high performer, and you've really kind of like led this life that a lot of people just kind of aspire to. And you've taken all of this that you've learned and this kind of like lifelong lessons that you've kind of learned, you kind of like put it all into this amazing thing called the G code, right? And now you're sharing it with everybody. So as we get going into that, because I really want to touch on that here shortly, but what I want to know right now is a little bit about, who is Gian Shaw and who were you? Where did you come from? Tell me a little bit about the you before you now. Who were you? Where did you come from? What was little Gian Shaw like?
Awesome. So, the who is Gian Shaw? It's a kind of a lot to unpack because I'm a lot of different things. But number one, I'm a husband. I'm a father to three beautiful daughters. I have twins that are 6, and I have a 2-year-old as well. So that's who I really am in a nutshell. But also, I am an actor in Hollywood as well as a professional stuntman and a peak performance strategist and coach. So I do travel the world, speaking at different conferences and coaching individuals, like I said, worldwide. Now, we'll build up to that, but who I was before and little baby G, who
Yeah.
had the ringlets and the curls
Oh, I
that I
love
don't
that.
have anymore. So little baby G, I grew up in a smaller town in Northern California and always was into sports. I'm the smallest of 4 boys, so I'm number 2 of 4, but I'm the smallest of all of them. All of them are 6 feet and above. I'm 5'9". And one of the things that started developing my character really early on is I was always trying to run with my older brother and his friends. So he's 2 years older than me. And obviously he's older, everybody's bigger. So I always had to perform extra hard just to keep up and prove that I belonged because I knew if I didn't, keep up with them on the football field or on the basketball court or even in the games they were playing on the street, they just wouldn't invite me anymore. So it
Mm,
really started at a younger age that I had to push myself more because obviously when you're a younger sibling, you want to be like your older sibling. So I wanted to be like my brother, be around my brother all the time. I didn't want to be separate from him. So it really started building this identity in me to really perform at my highest to make sure that I belong in any environment that I was in. And so that started translating all the way up into high school when I got moved up to play varsity, which I got to play with my brother. They called me the general because I was always the one, talking and directing things. And that's just how I've always been. I've always fell into this leadership roles ever since I was younger. I always believe, some people, you're just a natural born leader, whether you want to or not, it's kind of chosen for you. And it's your job to step in that role and really excel in it. And so I was doing that in the sporting atmosphere. And then college came. I didn't play sports anymore, but I still wanted to be around that environment. And so what I did is I trained to be an athletic trainer, or I studied to be an athletic trainer and a physical therapist because I wanted to be around that realm. In that, this is where the G code was mostly formed
Mm.
unknowingly to me. So what had happened was around my freshman year, I decided to take a semester off because Brooke, I was dirt poor. I ran out of money. I couldn't afford food. It was to the point I befriended this really petite girl who was super nice, and she had extra money on her meal card. So she was feeding me because she was like, I'm not going to use it all anyway. But I just knew this was no way to continue living. And so I decided to take a semester off and really get clarity on what it is I wanted to do. And also just get a job and try to, save up some money. And I got a job at the local airport they were hiring. It was great pay, $9.75 an hour. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be rich. Yeah, I was really good at that time too. And one of the things that they do is they send you for training. So they were flying me out to Denver to do training for a week. And I get to the airport, and when you work for the, airlines, if there's an open seat in first class, they're going to bump you up and give you that for free. So I flew first class out there. So mind you, dirt poor, no money, but now I'm flying first class. I'm in a nice hotel, and then they promised me per diem the next day. So I'm super stoked. I'm like, hey, this is the turning point for everything. So next morning I get to training, and, the first thing they say is per diem is delayed. And so I'm looking around and nobody's phased, and my heart just starts racing. I'm in Denver. I know nobody out here. I have no money to my name. This is terrible. I know I don't look like it, but I'm a big eater. I love my food. So that whole day during training, I didn't, I wasn't focused. I was just thinking about dinner. 5 o'clock came, we got released. I walked outside and I saw this barbecue joint called Famous Dave's. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I can even afford that. And then right next to it, I saw McDonald's. So I'm going up to the McDonald's and I reach into my pocket and I pull out $1.96. And at that moment, tears just start flooding into my eyes because as a grown man, I couldn't feed myself. And that was a turning point because right there I declared, I will never, ever again allow somebody to dictate if or when I ate. And that started the trajectory of where I am now. Now, on a side note, Brooke, I'm somebody who's very convincing. So I went in that McDonald's and I talked to the guy on the other end and said, hey, I work at a McDonald's in California. Can you give me an employee discount? Which he did. He threw in some fries. So I ended up eating that night. But most importantly, I decided. I made a decision that this was going to be no more. So that was really the turning point and the catalyst for me. And it's one of those things, right, where you almost have to hit rock bottom to realize, okay, now we're going to head on up from here.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. I understand kind of some of that. I mean, I've always been able to feed myself. I've always been lucky, and that aspect of it. Once I became an adult, I do remember being little though, and being young, and being with my mom when it was, she's bringing that calculator to that grocery store. Can I pay for this? Can I pay for that? And then having to go and put things back when you're at the register, or was it going to be food or was it going to be electric this month? And that kind of thing. So I grew up in that kind of an environment, and I remember telling myself when I was a teenager that I was like, no, I'm like, I'm not going to have that, for my kids, where they have to worry about whether or not they're coming home to electric or they're going to come home to dinner,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah, like you said,
It
and
really
those.
shapes you, right? It really shapes your identity and you start making that decision. We all hit that fork in the road where it's like, hey, am I going to go down this path and just struggle for the rest of my life? Or are we going to change something right here and now? So
Yeah, absolutely. There's those defining moments. So that was that moment for you. That was that defining moment.
that was that
Uh,
defining moment. But not to say, Brooke, not to say everything was uphill after that. It was just that was the defining moment where I
right.
said, okay, from here on out, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to take
Mm,
chances. And then that's when I decided after I graduated, I was going to move down to LA, pursue a
mm,
career in acting and stunt. So that was the turning moment. But like I said, there was hills and valleys as we continued on the journey for sure.
ah. So what was that like then? Like when you decided and you went on after that, because you said you were training to become a sports therapist or like physical therapist, and then you graduated and went on down to become a stuntman in Hollywood, an actor. What made that change? Because that's kind of, I mean, it's still kind of in the physical realm, and I get that. That's kind of that athletic bit, but that's quite a shift from like, I want to be a physical therapist to I want to need a physical therapist. Um,
Yeah, no, no, definitely, definitely. And so, around my like senior year in senior year in college, I was at San Jose State University, and there was like a casting looking for just background in a film in San Francisco, and it was money. It was like $100 for the day, and I said, "Great, let's go do that." So I went, fell in love with the process, and what I started to notice was the through line years later was I went from a team environment when I was younger. You have your coaches, you have your teammates, all of that. I went to athletic training physical therapy where it's the same kind of dynamic. And then moving to the acting and stunt world, it's the same thing. You have your director, your producer, you have your castmates, which are teammates. You still have to work in a team environment. So that ethos was through the whole thing. I just didn't know it at the time, but that's why I fell in love with it. But I remember calling my parents and I just told them, hey, after I graduate, or no, I said, hey, I'm going to actually move down to LA and be an actor. And they were like, okay, you want to move this weekend? I was like, no, 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 I'm going to graduate first. Right. And I was like, and they're like, oh, okay, great. But it's very interesting when you make a decision that you're tested. Because right before I graduated, one of the guys that ran a big program at a local university, he approached me and said, hey, heard what you're studying. You can have the whole athletic training facility. You just have to sit under the guy for 1 year because he's about to retire. Then the whole program is yours. My
Whoa.
friends that were in the athletic training industry, they thought I was crazy turning this down. They said, everybody dreams of getting that, and you're getting that immediately upon graduating. But in a flash of a moment, I saw what my life looked like when that was presented to me, and I said, I can't go down that route. And it was one of those things. It was a very predictable and comfortable life, which is great, but then it was bad because it was a very predictable and comfortable life. And I was like, I can't do that. So the day after I graduated, I handed my parents my diploma, and I had a 2006 red Chevy Cobalt. I drove down to LA. By this time, I had some more money. I had about $300 to my name this time, but I moved into a 4-bedroom home with 10 other people. So we had people sleeping on the couch, in the laundromat, double rooms. Yeah, it was. But I knew, even though this was going to be uncomfortable, it was placing me in the proximity that I needed to succeed. And so I needed to be there. So
Yeah.
that was the shift, and that was the catalyst for me coming down to, Los Angeles.
Yeah, because a lot of people would have just jumped at that chance. They would have just, I mean, to
Well,
know that you were guaranteed that and that it was like, yes, you're guaranteed, you're gonna be okay, especially after the experience of I have a dollar 90 something in my pocket and I can't eat, to being like, well, you're guaranteed to always have food on your plate. And then go like,
right, right, right. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy because even at that time, like I said, I had about $300 to my name when I moved to LA. So we're talking about I was going to be getting, and I can't remember exactly, but I think it was in like the mid 80s, like
yeah,
85,000 or something like that to start. But this was also years and years ago, so really good money, and it's in my and my smaller hometown. This
yeah,
I would have been to myself, I would have been rich. So to
yeah,
turn that down, that was completely insane and pretty dumb.
yeah.
But it definitely
Oh,
worked out
gosh.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So being in those kind of environments, I mean, so you left from there, you went into this stunt and acting, and you're in this 4-bedroom home with 10 people, and you've kind of put yourself in these actually very uncomfortable situations, I would say, What did those kinds of environments kind of really demand of you that you think maybe most people don't ever experience that, was different than what most people would experience?
Well, it's a known fact, you can't grow in comfort. Growth only comes in discomfort, period. Same, if we use an analogy of going to the gym, you have to push yourself in the gym till failure, till you feel that pain, till you can't go anymore, and then that's where the growth occurs. So by staying in my comfort zone, I knew I wouldn't grow. Like I said, I had that glimpse of what my life would look like if I stayed there in my comfort zone, and I knew there was no growth to that. So being in this environment of it, when you place yourself in the fire, it's not a comfortable situation when you have 10 people in a 4-bedroom home with different personalities, different goals. Everybody's just trying to figure it out. It's a very uncomfortable place. So you're going to work even harder to get out of that environment as
Mm,
fast as you can. So the environment is almost pushing you forward. So you're placing yourself in discomfort, hoping that's going to help accelerate things, right? And testing you, because you're getting tested, because I'm in Los Angeles, I'm in my early 20s, I'm in a house with a bunch of other young guys. Everybody's looking to have fun. So how focused and how disciplined am I going to be in this environment? I'm going to be tested, right? Because I'm being tested once again. How am I performing under this current pressure?
Yeah.
And that's been a through line for my whole life. How are you going to perform when this pressure is placed upon you? Whether
Mm,
you're in Denver and you don't have any money, that's the pressure right now. How are you going to perform? How are you going to make something happen? Whether you're going to just move to LA, whatever the case is, how are you going to perform? So this is what I've always told people. You can't grow in your current circumstance. You have to place yourself in discomfort. And a lot of times, the reason people are stagnant right now because they haven't taken that step into discomfort. Anytime they feel a little discomfort, they retreat back into their comfort zone.
mm, mhm.
So
Yeah, because yeah, well, comfort, people like comfort. I mean, the world's hard, and it's kind of like, why do I wanna put myself into something that's even why do I wanna make it even more difficult, I think is what
but
people think, right?
Yep. But Brooke,
Yeah,
I always say this, comfort is the kryptonite to peak performance, period. It will kill you trying to reach your peak. You have to be in discomfort. And like you said, yeah, life is hard. Every single day there's challenges, there's struggles. But when you constantly put that pressure on yourself and you stepped in discomfort, those struggles and those challenges you experience day to day aren't as hard anymore.
yeah,
And so I witnessed certain things where some of my friends are like, man, how did you go through that? And it's like, I've done more with less.
yeah,
I worked 17-hour, 18-hour shifts at 3 different jobs for pennies. So now that I'm working 16, 17, 8-hour shifts on set in an air-conditioned trailer with an abundance of food around me,
yeah,
and this is nothing now. And I have
yeah,
friends that did go through that type of struggle. So when we are doing long shoot days, they're like, man, I'm so tired. I'm like, tired, bro. We're living the dream. What are you talking about? So, you have to always remember the current struggles that you're going through are preparing you for the blessings that you ask for. And you may not see it at that moment, but it's prepping you for everything that's coming. Like I said, going through those 16-hour days in college prep me for these 16-hour days now. And I can handle it because I went through it with less.
mm. So when you've done that, what do you think that, like, you've seen from your experiences? And then, like you said, you've got friends that have kind of not had to experience the things that you have. What do you think most people are getting wrong about really showing up when it counts? Like they have like this maybe a skewed view of what that means. They think they know what it is, because I think a lot of people operate under theory versus actually having to have done it. So, they've been in these environments where, well, you've been in the environments where performance matters. And like, I mean, like, it really matters. It's not just like, oh, yeah, this paper got turned in late, so a client might be a little upset. I mean, your performance has mattered in a lot of ways. Being a stuntman, I know that's a big deal. I mean, I was in martial arts for a long time. You sit there and you mess up on some of that stuff. You're talking severe injuries, you're talking death, you're talking, like these are high stakes situations, right? So when you're actually needing to show up, I feel like people have sometimes this skewed view of what that actually means. And saying, come on, you need to show up, you need to actually, you know,
Yeah.
it needs to count. So what do you
Yeah.
think that they have that's like maybe they're getting wrong about that concept?
So one of the things I'm going to break this down in two parts. One of the things is their outlook from the beginning. A lot of people go through life thinking things are happening to them and they're not happening for them. So going back to the struggles or whatever pressure you're going through at the moment, and you're like, life is just beating me up. But no, no, no. It's prepping you. It's preparing you. It's happening for you. It's not happening to you. Once you understand that, and once you start taking ownership over your circumstances, you start to learn how to leverage those circumstances to perform when the pressure shows up. Because how you train and prep in the dark is what is shown when that spotlight is on you, whether it's on set as a stuntman or you're in your office turning in papers or you're at home as a parent. It doesn't matter. All of those are chances to perform and all of those bring their own amount of pressure. And so the work that you've done in the dark shows in the light. And I think a lot of people get it twisted where they think that they can just show up and be that person without prepping for it. It doesn't work like that in any endeavor. You can't just show up. It takes the years and years of work. It takes the years and years of dedication. And it also takes that mindset to understand that how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot, when I'm training in the gym, not go all out
Mm-hmm.
or take shortcuts or half reps. I cannot, as a father, not be fully present for my kids because how I do one thing translates to how I do everything across the board. If I slip over here, then there's a chance that I have now lowered my standards. And when I'm on set and my life and other people's lives are on the line, I might just lower my standards and I might slip a little bit here as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be congruent in all areas of life. That's how you perform under pressure. Show up. When you're sweeping the floor, are you just skipping that corner because you don't really want to get in the crevices? That will start translating to how you do everything in life. Every time you have an opportunity to perform and do a task, you need to do it to the best of your ability because it is not about the task itself. It's about you, your identity, your standards, and the congruency that you say who you are by the actions that you do.
That kind of that concept of when we talk about things like integrity of like it's who you are and what you do when nobody else is watching.
100%. When
Yeah.
that has gotten me more jobs and more connections than anything in life. People say, "Gee, we see how you operate." I'll tell you a quick story. This is a great story.
Mhm.
So when I first moved down to LA, I was doing a lot of marketing. It's called promotional marketing for companies. And once again, just got down there, didn't have a lot of money, and I was working a job. And it was for Target. Target was doing a promotion with fake snow and everything down at the Staples Center at the time. These young kids, they were going down the slide, the toboggan, and the older one, he was about 10 years old. His brother looked about 6. He gets up and starts crying. So I walk over to him, hey, buddy, did you get hurt? What happened? And he said, hey, man, no, my ticket ripped. And he showed me his movie tickets. And I said, oh, is your parents here? He said, no, they just dropped us off, but we were going to the movies and and he's giving me the shredded paper because it got wet on the snow.
Oh.
Without thinking, without hesitating, I saw the tears in his eyes. I opened my wallet. I had $20. I was going to get some food on the way home. That was my dinner money. And I said, you know what? I'll be okay because once again, I went nights not eating. I can do it again. So I handed
Mhm.
little man my $20.
Mhm.
His smile lit up. I saw him run to the AMC movie theaters and I was like, oh, cool. Worked the rest of my shift the next 4 hours. Didn't think nothing of it. Just done. Went to help somebody out. At the end of the shift, the manager calls me up in front of everybody. Says, hey, I want to commend Gian. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? He said, hey, we saw what you did. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we saw you give that kid money when you didn't have to. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to give you $100 in Target gift cards. So they gave me $100 in Target gift cards, which I wasn't expecting anything. But from that point on, I worked with this same company, this marketing company for the next 7 years and made over $400,000. And the guy still said, I hired you and I kept hiring you because I saw who you were when nobody was watching. And that's the congruency. Be who you say you are, even when nobody is watching, because somebody is watching. But even if they're not, you're watching yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. That's amazing. Because I think that's the thing. I think people just think they need to put on a show when
It's the worst thing you could do.
yeah, and it's kind of like as soon as people realize you're putting on a show, and it doesn't matter in what it is. That's why I tell people when I'm working with them, and because my job is about teaching people how to build relationships and and connect with that. And it's like you cannot be somebody else when you're trying to build these relationships because as soon as you do, you can only hold a facade for so long,
Yep.
and then you're
Yep.
gonna let it slip. And then
Yep.
as soon as people see that it slips, you have just ruined everything that you
It's
have been
done.
trying to build. It's done. The house of cards falls.
And,
Yeah.
and you said it so perfectly. You're building a facade, you're putting on a mask, and take this from someone who puts on masks for a living on set. There's going to be gaps. I'll be a hardened criminal on set and I'm trying to stay in character. And then I'm talking to my co-star, I start joking and laughing. So right there, slip through the crack. I forgot who I was for a moment. So when
Yep.
you're walking around lying or putting on this mask, you will slip. And why would you want to continue doing that? You always have to think, oh, what was the lie I just told them? Who am I supposed to be today? It's so much better, so much more authentic when you just show up as who you are, because at the end of the day, who you are is all you need.
Yeah,
That's
and it's
it.
gotta be exhausting
It's
to
exhausting.
that way all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And Brooke, when I first moved to LA, right? You're young, you're figuring it out. I'm getting into the whole Hollywood acting thing, going to auditions. And as you're starting out, you're always walking into casting. Oh, what is it that they want? Do they want this? Let me give them this. Because this is what you're trying to please. You're just trying
Yep.
to be a people pleaser, right? And you're trying to
Mhm.
guess what is it that they want. And so guess what, Brooke? I didn't book anything because that's not attractive. That's not sexy. That's not
Yeah.
contagious. Nobody wants that desperation, right? When
Yeah.
I started just walking in and saying, yo, this is me. This is how I see the character. This is what I'm going to give you. Like it, don't care. This is me performing. Guess what happened? All of a sudden, more work started opening up. So it's funny how we go through life, right? We started as a kid and we were ourselves because that's all we know how to be. Then we start trying to perform for people. We start trying to figure things out, but we're like trying to guess, what does this boyfriend, girlfriend want? What does this person want? What does this teacher, what my parents want? And we start putting on a mask and performing, which leads to a lot of confusion. And then as you get older, you go back to being, wait, who I am is all I need. And that's
Mhm.
what people want.
Yeah.
So if I can give you guys a shortcut watching right now, especially my younger people, just keep the through line. Be who you are, because who you are is unique and special. And you heard it before. Nobody else was created like you. Your superpowers are your superpowers, and those superpowers were given to you to bless the world with. So just hone in on those.
Yeah. And being yourself is going to attract the people that are going to love you and accept you for that, and it's going to repel the people who don't. You know, when you try to put on that facade, it's going to attract the wrong people. The ones who really aren't going to like you, like me and my nerdy little self over here. I'm like that Marvel freak and the
Yep.
comic book and string theory and crazy weird history stuff over there. That's just my nerdiness and
That
that
makes
comes
you
out.
unique. It
And
makes you unique.
yep, but that's the thing, like, people are either gonna love me for it or they're gonna hate me for it. And my poor little group chat with my girlfriends that I have, like, they just get the brunt of it because I don't have too many people I could just tell that stuff to, and they could care less. I mean, they couldn't care less about the stuff that I like, but sit there and I'll find something interesting. I text it over to them. I'm like, "Guess what?" And da 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 da, and they're like, "Aw." They're like, "That's so nice, Brooke." Like, "We love
But it's
you."
so cool though. You found a tribe that loves you for you, right? So those are the people you want around you anyway. You don't have to put up a facade and have these people around you and you're trying to, keep them interested. So they love you for you. They're like, hey, this is nerdy
Yep.
Brooke. We're gonna
It's like,
support her in her little nerdy things.
oh yeah. Well, now when they sit there and they find their own little interesting fact, they're like, I'm being Brooke today. Here's my thing. It's like so now it's like the thing.
But
And
Brooke, you know what's so cool about that? You being you allow them to tap into their more authentic self, because they're probably looking up nerdy facts too and little different facts. So it's cool. They're like, hey, Brooke's shining her light and it gives me permission to shine mine.
exactly. Yeah. No, absolutely. So why do you think that like people who know what to do, like we're talking about this, and it's like people know that they really should just be themselves. They know they need to sweep that corner. They know that they need to show up in a certain way. But they just still hesitate or they still freeze instead of just doing it. Why do you think they do that?
Um, they got to yell quiet on set. They have to yell quiet on set because what's going on, they're allowing a lot of external noise to cause distraction. So I was 2 years ago, I was standing on a bridge in Budapest and I was about to jump off the bridge. So we were doing a stunt. We had rehearsed it a bunch of times. Now, this is the famous chain bridge out there. So it has lights, it has metal. There's a lot of things you can hit on the way down.
Mm,
And we've been training, and when we were rehearsing, we hit a bunch of things, but luckily we had all of our pads on,
mm,
helmets, everything protecting us.
mm,
But on the day of, we can't have that in the scene. So we got to really trust our instincts. So me and my scene partner were talking, we were getting ready to go over, and a crew member came up. And he said, and he was very well intentioned. He said, hey guys, just as a reminder, if you go over the wrong way, you can hit that light, you can get injured. And if you hit over here, you can die. So this was all things that we knew, right?
yeah.
Obviously, we know these things. We know the risk involved. But He said it, and sometimes people around us are saying things with the best intentions. Our spouse, our friends, our parents, they're saying things with the best intentions, but there's certain times where you have to yell quiet on set, which is a famous phrase they say right before we shoot, because what we're doing is we are blocking all the external noise from coming in. And it's now time for me to listen to my internal. I prepared for this. I'm ready for this. I don't need any other distractions coming in. And so going back to what you asked, I would tell those people that no, they need to sweep a little bit better in that corner, or they need to really be their true self. Stop listening to outside noise and allowing it to be a distraction, because that's all it is. People are telling you their ideas. People are putting their fears on you, their doubts, like that crew member was. They're putting all of their stuff. Maybe your parents weren't entrepreneurs and you're trying to be an entrepreneur. So they tell you to go get a safe job, right? They are now just projecting their fears, which they think is them protecting you, but is
Yeah.
actually limiting you. And so you have to be able to just really kind of diagnose when is a great time to yell quiet on set and say, yep, I can't listen to that. Thank you for the feedback, but I have to actually go with what I know is true to me.
Mm,
And you have to start in this day and age. We look at too many external factors. We try to get our validation. We try to get our guidance from too many external factors when we really need to be looking inward and at the internal factors that we have and really trusting that, because you know what is best for you. You know what it is that you need to do. You don't need somebody to tell you that. The only
mm.
reason you're hesitating is because you're worried about what other people are going to think about you.
Now, how do you balance? How do you tell someone to balance, like, being able to listen to genuine advice that, maybe somebody is, it's some genuine advice. Maybe you do need to sit there and just kind of like, people are giving you the advice because you haven't been in a situation or you haven't, kind of been around something, but at the same time, still be able to know what you need to do or know when to, like you said, put that quiet on set out there. Like, how do they balance that between knowing when to take the advice and listen to advice and when to sit there and say, look, I need you guys just to like not.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. I've always ran it through the filter. Has that person walked the path that I'm trying to go?
Mm,
So when I'm on set and there was a crew member coming up to me telling these things, okay, you haven't done these things before, but if it was the stunt coordinator coming up and say, hey, G, you got to do da 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 da, cool, you've done this before. If, and I've always ran it through this, how harsh it sounds, it just is what it is. If
mm-hmm.
you are making less money than me, you're broker than me. I cannot take your advice on money management or investments.
Yeah.
If you're not as fit as me or as healthy as me, I can't take your advice on health and fitness. If in the entrepreneurial space, you haven't walked the path that I'm trying to go, you're in the millions, you're at seven figures, how can I trust somebody that hasn't walked that path before? So as somebody's giving you advice, use that filter. Has this person done the things or something very similar to what I'm trying to accomplish? If not, let's look at the next thing. Is this person just giving this advice out of love? Is it a spouse, a family member, parent, something like that? Or they're giving love, but you can kind of tell they're scared and they're
Yeah.
just kind of projecting that onto me. Or then you could go down to the last level. It's like, okay, am I just doing something stupid and reckless right now? And everybody's trying to tell me and I'm ignoring it, but
Yeah.
you should be able to determine that for yourself. But I just run it through the filter. Is this person living the life and that area of life that I want to live, giving
Mhm.
me the advice? If not, maybe let's just go ahead and filter that out and not use that advice.
Yeah, that's a really good filter for that. And I think that kind of like goes to then you kind of almost have to intentionally start putting yourself in rooms and in groups where you are the like least experienced and like the brokest person or the least, kind of thing. Because then you're surrounded by people who are the kind of people that you're wanting to listen to and take the advice from, right?
100%. That is, for anybody listening right now, this is the quickest, the fastest way to level up. Put yourself in rooms where you don't think you belong. You're the dumbest in the room. You're the poorest in the room. You're the slowest in the room. You get no benefit from being the fastest You get no benefit from being the strongest, from being the smartest, from being the richest in those rooms. It's
Uh,
great once you're at that point. Yeah, you could pour into other people and help them out. We could talk about that later. But right now, as you're trying to level up and get to your higher self, put yourself in environments that people are doing more than you because they will push you. They will allow you to borrow their belief in you to get you to that next level. They will give you the guidance that you need to get to that next level. And I don't care. I have paid to get into rooms like that.
mm-hmm.
If you
Same.
have to pay to get into rooms like that,
Yep.
pay to get into the rooms. They will pay you back 100 times over. It is so important.
Exponentially. We were just talking about that before all of this, about my last trip that I just took like a week or so ago. And it was the same thing. It was like just being in the room, their simple little nuggets that they drop are worth so much more than like 100 pieces of advice from the average person that you're encountering.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness, so much more. So much more.
yeah,
And they say it so nonchalant. And you're getting this just from like a casual conversation. So it's just gold all the way through, right? And so can you imagine when you actually sit down and have a business meeting with them, what you're gonna get from that? But
yeah,
this is showing you, right, Brooke, the type of conversations that people at this level have versus the type of conversations maybe people around our current level have. That's why they can't get us to where we're trying to go.
right. Exactly. Yeah,
And
no.
and it one thing also, this is really helpful as well. I've been around some really top level talent that people know their names worldwide. I've been in certain mastermind groups with coaches and speakers that are absolutely killing it in the industry. One of the greatest things of being around all of these groups is it allows you to see they are just human.
Yeah.
They have the same fears, the struggles and doubts that you're currently going through.
Mhm.
And it just gives you that belief, wow, it's possible. And they'll tell you that too, because they'll let you know, like, hey, gee, I didn't even start as well as you did, or I didn't even know that when I started. Dude, you got the goods. You're going to do. So sometimes you got to borrow that belief, right? You got to borrow other people's belief because they walk the path. So they can see things that you don't currently see. Because once again, right, it's hard to see the frame when you're in the picture. So sometimes you need that outside belief. So being around those people, so get around those people no matter what, because they
Yeah.
will elevate you to heights you never thought were possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we've talked, like they're kind of, they get up there and they climb that mountain and they're able to kind of look down from like that upper level at where you're at, and they can see that bigger picture, versus where you are kind of in the middle of it, in the midst of it.
Yep. Yep.
And they've already passed that and they're like, yep, nope, I've been there, done that. It's this, you're good. Keep, do this. You're fine. Keep going. Even though you feel like you're just like stumbling back down, and it's like, no, you're okay. It's gonna happen. We did that too. It's, keep pulling you right on along with it. So
And,
yeah, go ahead.
and something on that, relationships are so strong. And when I say build relationships, it's not to use people. It's not to see where they can help. No, no, no. Enter every room, see how you could be of service. And
Yes.
once again, right, provide your best self
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to open up doors. I remember I was working as a caterer. Like I said, a lot of jobs when I first moved to LA, you're trying to figure it out. I was working at a caterer and I'd been working for this lady for quite some time. She was doing a event at the big mansion that sold for like $180 million cash out here to the guy that owned Minecraft at the time. So this was years ago. Huge house, has a candy store inside, 26 bathrooms. Just the house is just insane. So she called me to come work for her. And I said, because I've been working for her for a while. She's like, hey, can you work tonight? I said, yeah, bet I'll be there. So I show up and I go up to her and I say, hey, what do you need me to do today? And she was like, nothing. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, having you around just keeps me calm and at peace. And I realized, wow, when you can show up and build a strong relationship and provide your best self,
Uh-huh.
the people will bring you around because they're telling you you have something that you didn't even realize.
Yeah.
So to this day, I have coaching clients that will continually hire me because they say, gee, just being around you does something different to me. Now,
Uh,
I don't know what I'm doing to them. So I just keep showing up as myself because it's working. But there's something about if I wouldn't showed up as myself, if I was putting on a mask, not building the relationships authentically, this would never have transpired, right? So it's very important. Every single room you come into, add value. And I can honestly say there's not one room that I've entered that I wouldn't be welcomed back into to this day.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
when you do that and you have that type of impact and you just come in with a level of service, you'll be amazed at how fast your life accelerates as well. Because people always love to help people that are a bright person, always pouring into other people, always being of service.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can tell you, being around you, you're that kind of person that you're going to tell somebody kind of like how it is, but you say it in like such a way that it's so positive and you're kind of like, yeah, this is what's happening and this is how it is, you know, and but we're going to this, that, and the other, you kind of like shift it all around, but you have this like positive spin on everything. So even though you're kind of like fixing something, it's still, you got this positive spin with it. And it just like, you make everybody excited to know what's like, what's happening, where to go with it. It's like, all right, cool, awesome, let's do
Yeah.
this, you know?
Oh, thanks for that, Brooke. I appreciate that. And it's so guys watching, this is so important. When somebody tells you something, believe them. And so, because I don't always see that for myself. This is who I am. But when someone like Brooke and then other people tell me, hey, you're always giving great advice, but with a positive spin, it's like, oh, okay, so that's why people are bringing me back around. But I didn't know because I'm just showing up as who I am. And one more thing about that that's so important. Sometimes your greatest gift, you don't even know because it comes so naturally to you.
Yeah.
So that thing, guys, that you're doing in life and it's just so easy and so natural to you, that is your superpower. That is your greatest gift. Find out how you could package that and give that to the world. Because we overlook those things. It comes easy to me. I do that all the time. It comes easy. Yeah, use that. Use that because that is your gift to the world.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like when you were going around, you were talking about learning that like just being yourself was kind of where what you needed to do. You showed up to the the auditions and you were trying to, what do they want? What do they want? And you're like, I'm not getting anything. I show up finally saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. And then obviously that kind of like has translated because you still are doing this on through, it's kind of now this through line for you. What was that moment that it was kind of like you were just like, I am just going to go to this and this is what they're getting? Like, is there a moment finally decided that this is how it's going to be?
Yeah, yeah. So it was really having that trust in yourself. I
Mhm.
started, and this is where we'll talk about the G code here in a minute,
Yeah.
but this is where, I was getting more clarity on things and taking ownership around my circumstances. And then I just realized I was exhausted, I was tired because I wasn't showing up as myself. I was performing. And so it started taking inner trust. If failure is because of me, and the choices I'm currently making, then success can be because of me and the choices I could be making. So
Mm,
if I'm going to fail, why not fail as myself? Because being this other person and trying to guess what people want isn't working. So it's not like I was booking roles and I was making millions of dollars. I'm like, okay, let me keep pretending. No, it wasn't working. So why would I keep double down on faking it and trying to guess what people want and being someone else when I could just say, you know what? Let me just be happier, be myself. Because if I'm gonna go down with the ship, at least I went down as myself. And so
mm.
I started leaning more into that. And it's funny because once you do, you'll start getting validation. So I booked a big UFC gym campaign where I had billboards all over LA. I was on all their print ads, their website, and that came probably about a week after I decided to just be myself. And
See, it's
so
making
you get,
decisions.
yeah, yep.
Making
It's
decisions.
it's deciding. It's
Yeah.
deciding and going back to the what you said about being in groups around high earners and high achievers and millionaires and all that. One thing you'll notice about them, they're decisive and they make decisions quick.
That's true. That is
When I
very
was
true.
at my lowest and poorest point, I would mull over decisions for a long time.
Well, do you think
They
that's
don't
kind of that's a thing like we've talked about before, like you have that the two different worlds of scarcity and abundance, and when you're operating in that world of scarcity, you're you're operating out of desperation. And that is where like every decision you're just afraid that like if I make that wrong decision, if the decision that I make isn't the right one, that's it, I'm done. It's going to just do me in because I have nothing to fall back on. I have, whatever it is. When you operate in that world of abundance, on the other hand, it's a whole different mindset because now you're kind of like, this is it. That I'm just this is the decision. This is my gut instinct telling me this is what I need to do, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah,
And then when you kind of like open up to the world and you approach it like that, first off, you have an air of confidence about you. That's one thing. And then when you're dealing with people like that, people don't want to deal with people who are just emitting desperation.
not attractive
That
at all.
never turns out good, you know.
Not, not at all.
you know.
And when you're operating in abundance, the reason I'm able to operate in abundance in all every areas of life, because everything has worked out for me. And I'm going to tell you guys a secret right now. Everything has worked out for you. How do I know that? Because you've overcome every adversity and struggle that you've ever went through in your life because you're still here. You're still here. You're still above ground. You're still able to fight. So once you understand, everything's going to either give you data. So it's going to give you feedback and stuff that you can adjust, or it's going to give you the deal. You're going to book a UFC campaign or sell that house or whatever the case is. But everything can be used to your advantage once you change that outlook. And I always say, so on set, you have, a lot of times you have two cameras. You have camera A and camera B, and they're shooting from different angles because what they're trying to do is the same scene, but they're shooting from different angles. So at the end of the night, the director, the editor, they go back into the editing house, figure out which angle looks best, and that's going to be on the final version, right? In your life, you have two angles or two cameras shooting your current circumstance. And so you can look at it through camera B, where camera B is going to shoot it where it's like everything's happening to you. Your life sucks. This decision is going to send you down the wrong path. Or you can look at it through camera A. This is building me. This is growing for me. This is going to help me be better. This is preparing me for more blessings. The choice is yours. I just choose to look at everything through camera A. And it's worked out tremendous for me.
Yeah.
And when you, like you said, when you operate in that abundance mindset, because there is enough in this world for everybody to have enough of anything that they want. We just believed the lie when we were younger that I can't be on TV. I can't make more than $50,000 a year. I can't do this. I can't find the love of my life. We started to believe those lies, not understand there's more than enough for everybody to have more than enough. And once you understand that and operate in abundance and not scarcity, like for me, handing that last $20 to those little kids, and that moment, I wasn't consciously think of it, but I was operating in abundance. Cool, the 20 bucks is good. We're fine. We're good. Well, guess what happened? $400,000 came to me. Are you telling me every time I put out $20, I'll go outside right now and just start handing out 20s. If this is how things are going to come back to me. But this is how things work. When you operate that there's more than enough. Let me help out where I can. It's going to come back. It's fine. I'm going to be okay. You'll just be on a different frequency.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you start attracting different things then. Yeah. 100% start attracting different things. And so you were saying, all of this that we've been talking about, you said this was all kind of building the G code without you really even realizing it. Right. And so, and I think that's funny too, because it's like, as I know through my life too, as I'm kind of like looking at stuff. And then here, even over the past year, I've kind of been sitting down looking at different things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's these different frameworks that have been like showing themselves over and over and over again in my own life. And then all of a sudden you sit down and you're kind of like, wait a minute. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm seeing a through line.
Yep, exactly.
And so it seems like you were kind of doing the same thing. And then you got this awesome name, which is like really cool. I don't have a cool name for mine. You've got a name for yours, by the way. It's very catchy. I love this G code. So this G code, you kind of have 5 pillars of it, right? So gratitude, clarity, ownership, discipline, and execution, right? So walk me through how all of that really works. So I know we start with gratitude. So how does that impact your performance? And like, let's talk about gratitude.
Okay, cool. So number one, when you were saying you looking at that through line, that's what I did in my life. I said, where were all the times I was successful? What was I doing in my life? What were the kind of mindset that I had, the framing around life? And then where were all the times that I was not really successful and struggling? And
Uh-huh.
that's when I started learning the through line, and everything started with gratitude. At those current circumstances, I wasn't grateful for what I had. Then when I was on my highs, I was very grateful in life for everything that was going on, right? And then I realized it's a universal law. You cannot attract what you want in life if you're not grateful for what you currently have.
Yeah.
And that is the foundation of the G code. Everything starts with gratitude. And when you build a strong foundation, you can have a legacy to stand on top of it. But it starts with gratitude. You have to be grateful for those current struggles. You have to be grateful for the little things in life because those are what's going to open up the door to abundance. So I had to be grateful for living in a 4-bedroom home with 10 other people because it put me in the proximity to be closer to Hollywood to now achieve my dreams. I
Right.
had to be grateful for that time when I was in Denver with $1.96 because it gave me a mindset shift like, hey, I could be in control of what I want. I could decide from here on out. So gratitude is the foundation of all things and it's built on. And the next step is clarity. You have to get very clear on, did I answer your question on gratitude or do you want to unpack that a little bit? Okay, great. Okay.
Sitting there and I'm thinking right along with it. And I'm like, oh,
Okay.
yep, I see where this is tracking in my
Because
own
I'll
life.
flow. Yeah, I'll flow through the G code. I'll flow through the G code. So, clarity, right? Clarity, you have to get very clear on what it is that you want in life. And we know this. When you get in the car and start driving, if you don't put in a destination, it'll take you anywhere. You have no destination, so you end up anywhere, right? But when you have a clear destination, you know, hey, I'm going from point A to point B, so you know the route to take. And you can
Mhm.
block off all other distractions because I don't need to do these side routes. I don't need to do this. I'm going here on this freeway. It's going to get me to my destination. So it makes deciding a lot easier,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
If I'm someone who identifies as being an athlete, I know I'm not going to chow down on ice cream every single night because that's not on my trajectory. If I'm
Mhm.
someone who identifies as being a loyal husband and father, I'm not going to go to the club every Friday and Saturday night to 4 a.m. hanging out with people I shouldn't hang out with. It's not, so it makes deciding easier. Um, I was doing something in stunts called high falls where we're falling from about 30 feet onto a bag.
Mhm.
And you have to land in a specific spot in a specific way so you don't hurt yourself. Land
Mhm.
too far off one side, you could bounce off, you can get hurt. Lots of
Mhm.
bad things can happen, right? So
Yeah.
I was falling down and I kept missing my mark. And the stunt coordinator, my mentor at the time, he came up to me, he said, Gee, the reason you're missing your mark is because where your eyes go, the body follows. Your eyes are
Mhm.
looking over here, so your body's going over here. Now, he just meant that for falling, for fighting, for stunts, but I took that and I applied that to my life. If my eyes are looking over here at distractions, at temptation, well, guess what? My body's naturally going to go that way. So if I could keep my eyes on my destination of where I'm going, put the blinders on. I know you own horses, so it's like put those blinders on like the horses so they can focus straight ahead. That's what's going to keep that clear path. So you have to have clarity in your life.
Well,
You
it's
got to
funny.
get very clear on what it is you want.
It's funny that you use that same thing because I was just thinking the same thing as you were talking about the horses on that because I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's the same thing. The horse goes where your eyes go.
Mm,
So wherever you look is where the horse is going to go. And
is
it's
that
the same thing. So it's like it even affects not just you, but people who are with you, the people who are following you, the people who, that you're influencing. So that even it affects that too. Yeah.
It affects everybody around you. It is so important. And it's so
Mhm.
crazy when I talked about the stunt driving, I was on a track and we were doing stuff and we were basically driving and then sliding into some cones and you have to slide sideways. Mine kept coming in at an angle, blah, 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 just a little bit off. And the coordinator comes over and he's like, Gee, just look out the passenger window. When you're sliding, look out the passenger window and the car will just line up with your eyes. And I'm like, what are we talking about here? So the next take, and I was like, you know what? Let me just do it. I looked out that passenger window. We just slid right. My cart was perfect, lined up right with the thick cones. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is literally crazy where your eyes go. Like you said, everything up around you will follow.
Follows.
So, got to get absolute clarity. And
Mm-hmm.
then we're moving on to ownership.
Yep.
In every result of your life, you are the constant.
Mm-hmm.
Take ownership.
Yep.
Take accountability. And once you do that, a lot of people are afraid of this portion of the G code because they almost want to punish themselves. It almost sends them down in a spiral because they're like, oh man, everything's my fault. No, no, no. Ownership is one of the most powerful forces you can have behind you because once you understand where you are is because of you, you now understand you can go somewhere else because of you. You are in the driver's seat. You are in control. and you have to take complete ownership. Like I said, in every result of your life, you're the constant. Now, we can't always change what has happened to us. Some of us have grew up in very bad childhoods and child environments and home life. I'm thankful and blessed that that wasn't me, but I fully am aware and I'm empathetic to those people that did come from very bad backgrounds. And you can't change what happened to you, but you can definitely use that to fuel you to where you want to go to your next level. And you could take ownership of like, okay, cool. Maybe I was physically abused or verbally abused. How can I put a positive spin and make sure this doesn't resonate anymore? How can I break the generational trauma for my kids? How can I stop the curse of being broke for my family generations? Whatever the case is. So taking ownership is one of the most powerful things you can do. Then you must get disciplined on your pursuit of hitting the next level, being a peak performer. You have to be highly disciplined. You can't allow distractions to come in. If you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., you wake up at 5 a.m. If you say you're going to be the best spouse, you be the best spouse. Congruent in all areas of life. You have to be disciplined. A lot of times, Brooke, people are not disciplined. They think being disciplined is a punishment. No, being disciplined is highly freeing. You know why? Because guess what, Brooke? When I wake up in the morning, unlike the majority of the people where they have to figure out what they're going to do for their day, they're negotiating. Should I do this? Should I do that? There's no negotiations for me.
You just
Zero.
know.
I just know I am disciplined. I have already decided and I identify with being the best husband and the best father. So guess what? I know exactly what I need to do. I identified as being a professional athlete. I know exactly what I need to do. I train. I identify as being one of the world's best performance coaches. So guess what? I know what I need to do to serve my clients. The discipline is the easy part now. It takes all decision-making factors. I don't negotiate with myself. I don't have to. I wake up, I know who I am, what I need to do, and I get to work. Period. Right? So
Yeah.
being disciplined, once again, is it's freedom. Discipline leads to freedom. People think it's restraints, it's handcuffs. I got to do this. I got to do this. No, no, no. You said this is who you are. So your actions need to back who you say you are. Just be congruent. That's it. And then as we get to execution, what had happened? Talking about the thing isn't doing the thing. A lot of times people really just feel good saying, I'm gonna work out on Monday. I'm gonna
Yeah.
start that business next week.
Yeah.
And it gives them a sense of satisfaction. That's right. I said it. Yeah. Talking about the thing isn't doing the thing. So you can be grateful. You can have clarity. You could take ownership. You could be disciplined, but ultimately none of that matters if you don't execute. If you don't do the things that you said you were going to do, period, you have to execute. You have to put action into place. And when you stack those 5 pillars in that order, which I call the cheat code to success, the G code is the cheat code to success. And I know a lot of people don't offer guarantees. I do. I guarantee your life will turn around for the better. I guarantee you will hit your targets and your goals. I guarantee you will live the life that you were meant to live if you apply the G code, because I don't operate in theory. This is not something I just made up on a whim and it might work for some people. No, no, no. This has been tried by me. It has been tried by all of my clients. This works. This is a proven framework. And what has happened in your life too many times, you're overcomplicating things. You're thinking life is complicated. It's not. Get back to simple. Get back to the belief and simple. If you have those 2 things, you will accelerate really fast. Believe that you can do something and then simplify the process. Get grateful. Get your clarity. Take ownership. Get disciplined and execute on it. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do to live your dreams. Period.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm listening to you talk about all of this and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I feel like you have found the universal cheat code in general, because as you're talking about all of this stuff, and I'm thinking about how I talk to my clients and what I'm talking to them about, and we have very different, businesses, you and I both do, but what I'm talking to with mine and what they need to do in their, with what we do, I'm telling them the same stuff. It's like, I'm like, I don't have it broke down into these wonderful pillars like you do. But as you're explaining these things, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is literally what I keep telling them.
Yeah.
I'm like, your show, your podcast, your things that you're working with, you cannot, it will not function if you don't have clarity in what it's for. If you don't know what the purpose of it is and you don't know what the direction of it is, it's going to fall apart. You have to know. And once you know, now you have something to weigh every decision against. Now you get to say, if you're asking, should I do this or should I not do this? The question is not should I or shouldn't I? It's does doing this move me closer to my goal? And if
Simple.
the answer is no, you don't do it. If the answer is yes, then you do it. I mean, it's that simple,
That's it.
you
And it
know?
goes back to being that simple. And when you have clarity, every decision becomes that simple. Does it move
Mhm.
me closer to my goal or further away?
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Your answer's right there. Then that means do it or don't do it. We don't need to deliberate, right? And this goes back to making decisions quicker.
Mhm.
This helps you make decisions quicker.
Yes.
All successful people make decisions faster. So if
And
you
that's
want to
why
be a
they
successful
feel like
person,
that.
and that's
Yeah,
why they're able
because
to,
they have
because they
clarity.
run it through their filter. They have
Mhm.
clarity. Nope, this doesn't serve where I'm going. Get it out of my way. This does. I'll go this way. Boom.
Yep.
And we'll adjust as we go.
Yeah, and it's
Period.
like you wonder how can they do this so fast? It's like because they have complete clarity on where they're going. And so they don't need to sit there and think about the 500 different possibilities that could happen if they make this wrong decision. It's like, no, does this do this or does it not? If it does, all right, cool, we're going. Nope, go. And that's
That's
it.
it.
It's literally just a yes or no question at that point
Yeah,
for them.
it's so true. And when you said the G code, it's a universal thing. Yeah, it is universal and it is for everyone who is trying to live their best life.
Hmm.
And I always say, become that person who can't be ignored because you're really stepping up your identity, owning your authority in the space, and congruent. The G code works for anybody trying to achieve something higher or better than what they've done so far. I don't care if
Absolutely.
you want to be a better parent, you
Yep.
apply the G code, a better
Hmm.
spouse, you apply the G code, entrepreneur, athlete, stuntman, it does not matter. It
Yeah.
works across the board.
Yeah. No, that's what I was just thinking. I'm like, this is something that just applies. It's not, does it just apply to me building a business or does this apply to me just elevating myself? It just applies. That's it. And I mean, so it really doesn't matter what you're trying to do. As I'm listening to you talk about this, it's like this is one of those things that once you do the G code, once you accomplish the G code and these 5 pillars, at that point, it's literally just a copy paste into
That's
every
it.
situation, at that point. Different situation, but the premise is still the same. It works, no matter what. So when you're dealing with people, the clients and stuff that you have and your experiences from yourself and working with people and seeing other people kind of try to execute this, whether they've been working with you or you've just watched them kind of like fumble through life doing this, what is the hardest part out of these 5 pillars? Where do people really kind of get stumped? What seems to be the most difficult one for them to get through?
Two spots, clarity and execution.
Okay.
A lot of people can find gratitude because I challenge them a lot. "Oh, I don't have anything to be grateful for." And it's like, are you alive right now? Yes, I am.
Mm,
Okay, so you can be grateful for that. You still have your
mhm,
parent, you still have your legs,
mhm.
you have a roof over your head. Did you eat?
Oh, yeah.
Find gratitude in the small things, and then we can expand it out for there. So normally everybody does pretty well with gratitude, even if I just have to challenge them a little bit. But when we get to clarity, that's when they're still deciding based on what their friends, family, parents, environment, other people have told them that might be the best option. And that's the hardest part where we have to strip down and be like, no, let's start getting, I start asking questions to get what is it that you want? And so that clarity piece, a lot of times people struggle because then once they do get clarity, I always ask this question, do you believe this goal or this thing is possible? And they always say yes. And then I say, do you believe it's possible for you? And then that's when they stop and hesitate for a second. And then I realize, okay, we got to work on their identity. And that's when we get into ownership, that identity piece. So normally that clarity is where we hit a little speed bump. Then we'll go through the ownership, really building up their identity, getting discipline on those actions they said they'll do. And then when it's executing, that's when we get that fear of success, that fear of failure, that fear of judgment. So that's when we do hit another pitfall. So, and it's funny because even my clients that have went through the G code in that current phase of life and then ascend it to their next level, you have to repeat the process of the G code again. Because now that you're at a new level, you have to be grateful for these new challenges, get clarity on where you're going now. take
Yeah.
ownership of what happened in the pit. So then we go through the process. So it's a never ending cycle of going through the G code as we just use this wheel to ascend our way to keep going because the journey never ends, right? Doesn't end until we stop breathing. There's no there because once you get there, there's another there. So we just keep going all the way. But those would be the two spots, clarity and execution, where I see my clients struggle a little bit more than the other spots.
Yeah. I could see that. I can see that. I had a really tough time. I don't think it was really till I hit into my 30s that I really seemed to like feel that I had clarity, like my identity, that like I knew who I was and I was comfortable with it, you know? Um, I mean, I had people for the longest time, they would sit there and compare me to my grandmother forever because we both taught music and we both played the piano. And apparently that meant that because, that was the case, I must be exactly like her. I
Yeah.
must like all the same things. I must, feel the same way about everything just because we shared a talent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it was like if I stepped outside of that realm, oh my gosh, the amount of crap I would get from people. And we kind of lived like it's not a small town anymore, but it used to be back when I
Mhm.
was, young and, in my teens and stuff like that. Boy, I'll tell you what, that was something else. Like try as soon as you step out of that box that people put you in, it's hard to break out of that because as soon as you do, boy, they will rake you over the coals with it and let you know that your place is in that box.
Right.
And you
Right.
don't deserve to come out of it. You can't come out of it. That's who you are and that's where you belong. And
Yeah.
oh,
And it's hard as you get older, right? Like you said, in your 30s. So now you're trying to, and this is something everybody has to do at some point in their life. You have to unlearn a lot of the things that you learned as you were younger, whether this is money beliefs, identity beliefs, whatever the case is, because a lot of those were just imprinted on you. And
mhm,
so when you're starting to get that clarity and understanding, oh, this came from mom or grandma or from friend, this is not how I think or how I operate. And it's one of those things, when your circle, and sometimes it's your family, and this may sound harsh, but I don't mean it to be harsh, but when your circle isn't supporting you, it's not a circle, it's a noose. And
yeah,
it's actually taking the life out of you. And so every time you try to step out of that box, they try to put you back into it or step out of that circle. They try, no, no, you belong over here. And it's really
yeah,
suffocating you and it's not allowing you to be your full self and really breathe. So you have to be very aware of that. But that's one thing all of my clients, 100% of my clients, at some point, we had to go back and look, where did this identity come from? Why do you believe making money is so hard? Why do you believe you can only be this strong or weigh this weight? Why do you believe that? Oh, and then it always comes back, oh, your parents told you that.
yeah,
And they said it maybe out of love and care and blah, 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 whatever the case was. And most of the time it's not ill intention, but we have to go back to that and really pick that apart and understand where that belief, started with.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, definitely. It's wild how all of that stuff really just imprints and like sticks to you and affects you so much as you get further into life and you don't even realize it because it's like little scars and little ghosts that kind of live in your head and you don't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beliefs and it's like, well, why do you believe that? I don't know. It's just that's how it is.
Yep. Yep.
You know?
Right. And we don't challenge those beliefs. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. The beliefs that hurt us the most, we don't challenge those beliefs. But when then you believe that, hey, could I do that? Can I go be an actor in Hollywood? I don't know, man. That's pretty hard. You challenge the beliefs that can serve you, but you
Uh,
don't challenge the beliefs that are hindering you. And you had said, everybody tried to put you in the same box as your grandma. I think that was the best thing that happened to me because I've always been self-aware, but I think the best thing that happened to me is having daughters. All my kids are daughters, but having daughters first. Because I believe if I would have had a son and they showed any inclination, like my oldest twin, she's identical to me in her personality, her mentality. If that was a
mm,
boy, I think I would immediately said, okay, you're gonna play basketball, you're gonna do this, you're gonna be little G,
yeah.
and that would have been the worst thing. Having a daughter, I realized, hey, hands off, you are who you are. Let's just see what happens, even though she's so much like me. But it's been
Mhm,
really cool because I don't feel like I have to imprint. Now, the things I do imprint on her are you are wonderful, you are beautiful, you are smart, because I know the fact of identity. And to tell you a funny story, Brooke, me and my
yeah.
wife, we homeschool the kids. My wife
Yep.
was getting their schoolwork ready, and the oldest twin just kept asking questions, and we were trying to prep for something. So my wife said, "Baby, can you go away for a little bit and just go talk to yourself? We got to get this ready before we start school." So she walks away, and her name is Rogue, and she walks away and she says, she's talking to herself. Rogue is so smart. Rogue is so funny. Rogue is
Mhm.
so pretty. And me and my wife looked at each other and we said, what we're doing is working. This is her identity. This is the identity she's going to carry the rest of her life. And
Yep.
so
Ugh.
we're trying to impart that on her young and imprint that so she thinks everything is possible. They tell me all the time, we always do Mexico for Mother's Day every single year. It's just a tradition I do to spoil my wife and the kids. My kids believe everything's possible. It'll be just a random Tuesday. I'm like, guys, what do you want to do today? Do you want to go to Disneyland? Do you want to go to Mexico? And I'm looking at them and I'm laughing like, this is cool because growing up for me, it was like we had to plan those things. So I explained to them, but then in their mind thinking anything is possible. You can go to Mexico on a Tuesday. You can go on a vacation. It doesn't matter. I want them to
Yeah.
have that belief. There's nothing limiting them in life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've tried to do the same thing with my kids too. And my 11-year-old, and I homeschool my kids too. I did with both of them. I have a 21-year-old and an 11-year-old, both of them daughters. And my 11-year-old, she loves to invent things. So I'm
Okay.
gonna be like a little engineer kind of thing, but she says she's gonna be a veterinarian. So
Okay. Okay.
that works too. She loves her animals. We know that. But she likes to invent. And I'll sit there and I'll be like, okay, well, what's your, she's like, Mama, I think I can make something for this. I want to make an invention. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? She was real little and she just wanted to sit there. She didn't want to have to walk inside the chicken coop to feed the chickens. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, well, how are you going to fix that? And she's like, and I think she was probably 6 at the time or something like that. And she says, well, she says, I think that if we put a tube outside here and I can make it kind of curve into their bowl through,
Mm.
I can pour it from out here and it'll just go into the bowl. And then I don't have to do it anymore. And I said, okay. I said, that sounds pretty good. I said, well, how are you going to do that? And she's like, we need the store. And she's like, Home Depot. And I was like, so we went to Home. I'm like, okay, well, let's go to Home Depot. What do you need? She went and walked and got these big old PVC pipes like this. And,
Cool.
you
You're
know, and
supporting her though. You're supporting her belief that she can make this happen. And
you
it's
make
so
it.
important whether it worked out or not, you're supporting
Yep.
that belief.
Yeah. And she built it and she put it all together and got all the stuff for it, figured out the little elbow she needed. And
So
then we
cool.
got talking and we're like, well, what if it rains? And she's like, we need a lid, you know, and so she for it. And then she had another one. She's like, well, she's like, I don't want to have to like leave the house to go feed the horse. This was probably like a year or so ago. And she's like, we could have the feed up here and I could just like have a delivery system to go feed the horse with. And I'm like, and of course I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and I'm seeing this contraption that she's building up in her mind. I'm like, we're going to have like a zip line kind of situation going down
Yeah,
here that
right, right, right.
like be funneling food through. And I'm like, oh, Lord Almighty. Like, I'm like, this is awful, you know, but I'm like, okay, honey, I didn't tell her no, you know, I'm just like, well, okay. I'm like, well, let's think this through. I'm like, where did you kind of get it to? Where's the horse eat at? And she's like, over here. And she's like, but I think we could do it like this. I said, all right. I said, do you see where any issue could potentially come up with this setup?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
all the things that we have to do with the horse. And she got thinking about it. She looked at it. She sat there and looked at it probably, you know, for a few minutes. And then she's like, oh, that might not work. And I'm like, oh, why is that? She's like, well, she's like, we wouldn't be able to get the truck through the gate to be able to put the hay in the field. It blocked it. And I'm like, oh, thank God she figured that out because I really,
Yeah, 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 right.
I'm like, you know, string lines delivery system through the yard.
It was cool. You let her use her critical thinking, you know, and like it's so awesome. So much support there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was great. She's just got this brain that just goes like that. So I try not to like discourage it. I want to like make her think, like you said, like all things are possible. I mean, these people that invented, you know, Microsoft and Apple or created the 3D printer that's printing out titanium bones, you know, to put into people and stuff like that. They didn't just all of a sudden in college one day just up and decide, you know what, I think I want to invent things.
Yeah.
Or I think I want to do this crazy wild thing over here. That started with things as a kid, and they had to be in some sort of nurturing environments.
Yeah. Somebody was cultivating that creativity. And
Mhm.
that's our job as parents. Cultivate that creativity. Let them think outside the box. Let them get creative. We are in a day and age now where literally anything is possible. We're seeing AI do things. We're 3D printing things.
Yep.
Anything is possible. Don't
Yeah.
put your limitations on your kids.
Yeah.
Those are your limitations that you grew up with in the environment. You don't put those onto your kids. Stop them there.
Yeah. And I think, like, it's kind of me. I'm sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, if people sit there and start learning this G code for themselves and they can actually start teaching it to their own children, then they're going to create a generation that doesn't need people
Yeah.
like you, like me, like, that'll sit there and that their kids have to, find somebody to teach them this stuff when they become an adult because they were, you know, pushed down when they were a kid and had,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
expectations put onto them. So you're kind of out there working with people to kind of almost help them make it where the next generation doesn't need a you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, exactly. And that's the thing. I always, paying it forward is something huge to me because growing up, so my dad was a UPS driver
Huh?
and he would leave in the morning, like around 7 a.m., get home about 8:30 at night. But one of the things, not only were there four of us boys at the house, but I had a bunch of friends that didn't have a dad. And so my dad
Mhm,
grew up without a father. So what
mhm,
he would do is he would go over to my friends' homes and he would help them with their homework to make sure that they graduate. And these are people I'm talking tatted up. Some of them were in gangs, very bad upbringings. But my dad was like, my job is to show them that somebody cares because I didn't have that growing up. Right. And so he showed me the pay it forward aspect. And there's grown men to this day that are alive, not in jail. And they said, I will die for your dad for what he did for me. And I saw the impact that he had. And now that was his gift and that was his job and that was his duty. And this
mhm.
is my duty to get the G code out there. And that's the reason why I am coaching other individuals. That's the reason I get on platforms like this to let people know it is not for me. G code, I'm not going to hold it as a secret just for my benefit. It is my job to give it to the world. It is the reason that I then put it into a book to give it to the masses. So that way, like you said, in the next generation, hopefully I'm not needed and everybody is just living the G code on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think everything that you're doing, what your dad did, what you're doing here, and it's kind of a through line that I saw with kids that I worked with and people that I worked with, they need to feel seen, you know? And when they feel seen and they're talked to in a way that speaks to their internal language even, because we all
Yeah.
learn it ways, you know, that they all of a sudden realize that, like, oh, wait a second. I'm not in this box. I'm not stuck here. I am capable of more, you know, so much more than I thought.
And,
So,
and
yeah.
that's the thing, right? They just need that one person to say, I see you. I
Mhm.
believe in you. It's
Yep.
possible. I've done it. You can do it too. And that's
Yeah.
it. And so just be that example.
Yeah. So, someone is building like a business or they're trying to pull themselves kind of, you know, elevate themselves in this stuff. And they're feeling stuck between kind of, where they are and where they want to be. What's the first thing that they need to look at?
The first thing, if they're feeling stuck, the first thing is going to be the identity.
Mm,
Who are you identifying as, right? You're taking that identity. Who are you saying that you are? Now, the next thing is, are your actions supporting that identity?
mm, mhm,
Are you saying that you are so you say you're stuck at 100K, but you're trying to get your business to 7 figures. So you're going from 6 figures to 7 figures. So your identity now, I'm a 7-figure entrepreneur. This is my business. Okay, are your actions aligned with a 7-figure entrepreneur? Are you making decisions based on what a millionaire would make, or are you still making your decisions based on someone at 100,000? Because if you're making them based on 100,000, you're going to be stuck at 100,000. Then after that, you have your identity, you have your actions, and then you have your environment. Is your environment supporting? Because it's either supporting or it's inhibiting your identity. So is the environment, so it's just a circle of identity, actions, and environment. All of those have to be aligned with that next level that you're trying to go, or you won't be able to. So if you're someone who says, I'm trying to lose 15 pounds, right? I identify as someone who walks around at 150 pounds or whatever the case is, or I walk around at 200 pounds. Do your actions support that? Is the environment that you're building, the food in your house, the people around you, The decisions you make when it comes to eating out is that environment supporting your identity? Most times than not, there's gaps between your identity and your actions, and then there's gaps between your actions and your environment.
Mm,
Those gaps are why you're falling short on where you're trying to go.
mm. So do you think that, so is it like, is strategy and identity kind of the same thing then? Or is it identity and then play strategy?
Identity, then strategy. I don't believe strategy and identity are the same thing because identity is who you say you are, and that has nothing to do with strategy. You can
Mhm,
declare right now, you can decide right now, this is who I am.
mhm.
Period. That's an easy thing to do right now. I'm making a decision that I will never be broke again. Great. I'm making a decision. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm gonna be an athlete. Then the strategy comes in. Those are the actions that you're gonna take. But guess what? Those actions are easy because you already have clarity on who you decided you are.
Mm,
So if you
hmm,
decided you're a
like that.
healthy eater and an athlete, the strategy for the action is you don't eat junk food. You go to the gym 4 times a week. You walk every day. You get 8 hours of sleep, blah, 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 blah. It's very easy. And then the environment just has to support those actions. Turn off the
Right.
TV at nighttime. Make sure you have healthy food in the pantry. Don't eat out so much. Everything just comes aligned once you identify and decide who it is that you are.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. What is the hardest truth that you find people are trying to avoid when you talk to them, when you start working with them?
Hardest truth people try to avoid is they believe that it's not as easy as it is. That is the hardest truth. We've been told everything's hard work. Um, you can't get it through without struggling. If it's too easy, then it's not going to be worthwhile. It must be difficult. And I'm here to tell you it is as easy as just deciding and declaring who it is that you are and what it is that you want. Once you make that declaration, the world gets out of your way. The universe bends to your will to give you what it is you declare. It's like the funny, Aladdin, right? The genie. Yeah, guess what? You have a genie inside of you. You just have to declare. You just make your wish, but it's unlimited wishes. Just decide what it is that you want. And it is that easy, but we've been told, as we were younger, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to be successful. You can only take one vacation a year, blah, 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 blah. All those things, but it is that easy just declaring who it is that you are. That's
Mhm,
it. Just make the declaration now. Just make the declaration, decide. It is that easy. And once you decide from there, everything will move to operate with that identity. So that's the biggest hurdle that my clients come with. But guess what? Once they understand it
mhm.
and once they actually believe it, because the
Yeah,
belief, we talked about simplicity and belief. Once you have those two things, everything is easy from there.
super simple. Yeah,
Yeah, super
sup
simple, super simple.
yeah, way overcomplicating. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, totally get that. So, we're kind of, as we've come through and I've kind of like, we've talked about a lot with the G code and we talked about a lot with you and your life and, how you kind of came to this. What is it that we might be missing? Are we missing kind of any important key factors that you want to make sure that we're getting in and, you know?
Yeah, the biggest thing, that we might be missing is all that you need is already inside of you. You don't have to go looking elsewhere. No matter what you've been told, you don't have to be looking elsewhere. All you have is all you need. All you are is all you need.
Yeah.
Get back to simplicity. For the people that are believers out there, if you believe in God or a higher being or a universe, you know that you were created for a purpose. Anything you're going through, you have been placed in that position because you're able to overcome it, and it's meant to make you better and build you into the purpose that you were created for. So you don't need to go looking elsewhere or external factors. You have everything you need inside of you.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so before we move into some of my little more, little fun, dodgy little questions over here that I'm gonna ask you to, as we wrap up. We want to know, how can people find Gian? How can they get with you and they're like, hey, this all speaks to me. I want to sit there and get with Gian. How do they do that?
So, easiest way to find me on social medias, Facebook, Instagram at Gian Shaw. So GIANSHAW. Super easy to find me. Also, you can go to my website, gianshaw.com. Like I said, I make it very easy to find me. And then for those of you that are interested in the book, the G Code book,
Yeah.
so this is the book here. It's going to be on Amazon pretty soon, but right now I have a special gift for those of you that get it off of the gcodebook.com. So if you go there and get it off the gcodebook.com, I have a little special gift where you actually get to work with me one-on-one for free. So yeah, I'll leave it like that. But those are going to be the easiest ways to find me. And so yeah, and then I'm always open. Just send me a DM, give me a friend request, and we'll be able to, lock in from there.
Awesome. And they'll be seeing all of this up on the screen right now for everybody watching. And then we're also going to have all of those links down below in our show notes and our description. So it's going to be everywhere. They can't miss any of that. So no excuse. Um,
And
no,
no excuse, guys.
no
Tap in
excuse.
with me. Like I'm saying, I'm very friendly. I love getting new people to, talk to, work with me. I'm always down to help. So, guys, tap in with me. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Don't let the bald head fool you. I'm a nice guy.
That is fact. I can attest. That is very true. Yes. Okay. So, all right. A few little fun rapid fire questions before we wrap this up.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
So, do you perform better under pressure or when you're completely calm?
1,000% under pressure. 1,000%. And I want to elaborate on that a little bit. I've been
Yeah.
challenged before, and one of my coaches said, "Gee, is that really true, or you just been performing under pressure so many times?" So what I'm going to try to do is start being in a more calm environment when I make decisions. But right now, put the pressure on me, baby. I love performing under pressure.
The same. I got it. I'm the same way. But you know what? I think that's another thing. I think that's like an athlete kind of thing too, to a degree. Because so, like I said, I was in martial arts for years. So I was state champion sparring and full contact taekwondo, USDU, all of that kind of stuff. So I mean, I was heavy into competition.
Okay.
So did that for a long time, and it was the same thing. Like, man, I mean, if I didn't have pressure, if I put it this way, and I still feel that way because I would perform with my music and all of that kind of stuff too. The days that I felt calm and I was just like, yeah, no, this is going to be good. Yeah, I'm just chill. It was the days that I screwed it up
Yeah.
so
Right.
bad.
Right. But the days when it's like, yo, I got to perform right now, like you say, it's game day, or I'm in a martial arts competition, whatever the case is, like, let's go, I'm ready for it. Like, let's
Oh,
do it
yeah,
right here. Yep. I don't need to
100%.
prepare. But
Yeah,
I think one of the reasons why is we prepared so much that when the
yeah,
pressure comes, we're ready for it. And that's why we can perform under pressure. It's that
yeah.
preparation.
Yeah, I mean, because I would, and I started getting to the point. I started noticing the pattern that when I was calm, when I didn't feel pressured, then I started getting nervous because I'm like, crap, this is the sign. It's gonna suck.
Yeah, right, right. Well, because then we start getting in our head. There's too much
Yes,
downtime. We start getting in our head, and it's like, no, 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 no.
I'm like, no,
Right? I
yeah,
already know I can do these things, so
yeah,
I don't need this time to overthink. Let me just go do them. Give
yep,
me the situation right now to
100%,
perform. Yeah.
100%. Okay, what is one standard that you refuse to compromise on?
The one standard I refuse to compromise on is being the person that says they're going to do one thing and I do it every single time. Congruency to me is so important because if you say you're going to do it, the fastest way to lose confidence in yourself is keep breaking promises to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do it. So anyone out there struggling right now who is their self-worth might be a little bit low, confidence might be a little bit down, it's because you keep breaking promises to yourself.
Mm, mm-hmm.
If you say you're going to do something, do it. It's very funny how we'll hold other people accountable. We'll hold the servers accountable because our food came out a little bit late and we get mad and it's not as hot as it's supposed to be. Or the car dealership said our car will be serviced and it'll be ready by 5 p.m. and now it's 6 p.m. and you want to start yelling at them. But then when it comes to yourself, you said you were going to do something, but you don't yell at yourself. You don't hold yourself to the same standards you hold everybody else to. So that's one thing I will never compromise on. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I declare it, I'm going to do it, period. I won't compromise on that.
Yep. No, I'm with you there too because I sit there and I even found because when you talked about sweeping out the corner, Are you going to sweep that corner out? I sat
Mhm.
there and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that's what I do. And I find myself having to convince myself when I'm wiping down the kitchen counter sometimes. And I'm like, I can just wipe around the toaster this time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Right,
I
right,
have to
right,
like
right,
lift it up and move it, right? You know,
right. Yeah, nothing got under the toaster. It's just been sitting there. Why do I have to lift it up?
like I don't need to do it. It's like it's so stupid because what are you gonna do? Just sit there and go like this.
Yeah. Well, but that's such a great analogy, right? It's normally we cut corners and we think we're taking a shortcut, which was really
Mhm.
detrimental to us when all we have to do is just lift something up and just wipe underneath. It's something
Yep.
that's so simple, but
So
we
simple.
exert more energy trying to find a way or an excuse or a reason not to do it instead of just
Mhm.
doing the thing that's
Yep.
going to make things better anyway.
Yep. And I will sit there and I laugh at it as I'm sitting there listening to you because I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, the fact that I have actually argued with myself about whether or not to lift this item and wipe underneath it. And then I'll be like, no, I'm just going to wipe around it. And I'm telling me, no, you should just go into it. And you're over here on this other side of the counter by now. And I'm looking back over there and I'm like, dang it. All right.
Yeah, 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 right, right, right. You exerted all this energy negotiating with yourself instead of just knocking it out, doing it, or it already been done. You can
It,
save.
you know? No, I made it all the way to the other side of the kitchen and then determined, no, I
Yeah.
just need to do it. Dang it. And
Yeah,
it's like,
right? So that's funny because that's a small scenario. But
mhm,
if I go back to, let's just say, the gym metaphor, because so many people are working out or try to work out, you sit there and just negotiate all morning long. Should I go work out? Should I, for hours when you could have just did the thing and it was going to take less energy than you negotiating yourself with it.
by
Right.
the time you
So,
got the negotiation done, you could have been to the gym, done worked out, and gotten back home.
and felt good. And I always say, don't miss an opportunity to do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
all that negotiation, you could have been doing something your future self will look back and be like, gee, thank you so much for doing that 3 years ago. Thank you for always showing up. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is something people assume about you that is actually completely wrong?
Oh, funny. On first glance, they assume I'm going to be some intimidating, mean person
Uh
until
huh.
I smile. And they realize they always say, well, gee, you like when you're walking, like my wife always says when I'm walking through Costco, she's like, what are you about to like punch somebody? And I'm like, no, I'm just very determined. I'm just going over there to get the toilet paper. That's just my nature. I walk with intention, which I think sometimes people would think like, oh, whoa, he's going to be very aggressive. But I am a very loving, open, friendly person. I'll talk to anybody that walks up to me. So on first glance, if I'm just walking by, that's probably one of the things that people assume about me
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah,
Okay. So kind of the other version of like saying that like a woman has like that RBF, that
exactly.
face, you know?
Same thing. Yep, yep, same thing. But there's something to be said about that. I think that's why I get casted in roles as gang members and
Uh-huh.
prisoners and stuff like that. So I have that look. So it's definitely played to my advantage as well when it comes to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's true. Very true. And I can't believe you told me you were 5'9". I've seen you
Yeah.
on TV. You don't
Yep.
look
5'9".
5'9".
How tall do I look? How tall do I look?
Seriously would have put you at like 5'11" or so.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So it's
yeah,
funny.
you
My
look like a
brothers are
taller.
Yeah, yeah, my brothers are 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2", so everybody's a lot taller than me. I'm 5'9", but it's
Oh,
funny
wow.
because I've heard that before where people are like, "Man, just the way you carry yourself, you seem taller."
You
So
don't.
I guess it's just about like, owning your space and just owning that authority, being comfortable in that space and who you are.
No, I was really
Um,
surprised when you said that because I was just kind of like, man, I've seen you on TV. And I'm like, no, I'm like, when you said that, I was kind of taken back because I'm like,
yeah,
wait,
yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to reassess everything that I think about people when I'm looking at them on TV then because
Oh, 1,000%. Your famous stars and your favorite actors, they're not as tall as you think they are.
yeah, I mean, I know like Tom Cruise is really, really short. So like I knew
Yeah.
that, but I mean, they do things with that. But you just look so much taller on TV. I would have never guessed that.
Oh, that's
So
funny. That's
yeah,
funny.
kind of cool. That's awesome. Yeah, you do. You take the space. So very cool.
And that's just one of
Okay.
those things going back to what we said, being comfortable who you are
Yeah.
and owning your authority. Yep.
Yeah. Just owning it. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah. So someone spent a full day with you. What would surprise them the most?
Oh, you are going to have a blast. I live life on the fullest. We're gonna be doing a lot. And
Hmm.
one of the things that's gonna surprise you the most is how much I get accomplished in one day.
Ah,
You think your capacity is at a certain level and this is with my clients who do my one-on-one VIP days, they realize Wow. We both have 24 hours in a day, but somehow G turned that into 168 hours for a full week. But the thing is, I'm very intentional and disciplined on what gets done so I don't waste any time. So you will
Uh,
be shocked because not only did we get so much done in a day,
mhm.
it went by fast because I have
Mm.
fun with what I'm doing. There's enjoyment in
So like what?
everything across the board. Yeah, I enjoy it all. Enjoy being a husband, a father. I enjoy working out as an athlete. I enjoy coaching my clients. I enjoy. So when we're doing everything and you see that enjoyment and that passion that I have, you then understand. I understand why G only needs a couple hours of sleep. I understand why he can wake up and show up with this energy. He enjoys life. And
Yeah.
when you bring that same passion and enjoyment to your life, that's one of the biggest things. Like I'll ask my VIP clients. So we have a full day. We spend 8 hours together. We go over their business, other things that we tackle. And I always ask them, what are your key takeaways? And I don't think it's gonna be something I said about the business. They're like, dude, how you show up for life. Just who you are. You just show up with so much energy, so much passion. You enjoy what you do. You're super grateful just to be alive. And I'm like, that was the biggest takeaway, but I understand that's what they needed. That's what
Yeah.
they needed to see.
I was
And
gonna
that's why
say,
it's so valuable to be
yeah.
in my atmosphere and be with me because that type of energy. One guy told me, he's like, gee, I feel like you just sell energy. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, when I get around you, it's a jolt of energy. It just hits me and I have more zest for life.
Oh, yeah.
This is, so that's probably the biggest takeaway, that people would
I can
be.
totally see that. And like out of that, like 8 hours a day and say that that's the takeaway. I mean, honestly, that's an amazing takeaway for somebody to say after being around you because those mind shifts are probably some of the most valuable things that people can have. They can learn stuff about business. They can learn things about, you know, I don't know, life and parenthood and, different things like that. But to sit there and see somebody operate a certain way and then just take on that mind shift and that complete, just that complete shift, that can do more good for somebody than any amount of information that could have ever been given to them.
You're right. You're right. Because once again, going back to those lies that we're told, it needs to be hard. I need to be tired at the end of the day, blah, blah, blah. And then you're sitting around somebody who I like to think I'm highly successful in what it is that I do. And you're sitting around me, you're like, he's having fun. He is energized. And one guy had asked me one time, this was at the gym a couple weeks ago. We were talking, asking what I do. And he was just like, what are you, man, like 28? And I said, no, I'm 39. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, then you're not married with any kids, this amount of energy. I was like, no, I got 3 daughters. He's like, what is your secret? He's like, how are you look like this? How are you energized? How are you feeling good? And it's like, I'm passionate about living. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm giving a short amount of time here and I want to make the most out of it. So you're right. If that's the biggest takeaway, sometimes that's the turn that people need to really just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so what does a non-negotiable win kind of day? So, this is a great day for you. This is makes the day a success look like for you.
So yeah, super easy, super easy. So I woke up, I did all my gratitude, very easy because I roll over, I see my beautiful wife next to me. I'm grateful for her, grateful for my kids. Very easy for me to run through my gratitude checklist. So I start the day just super grateful. And I just don't say those things. I really let them fill me up because once again, there is so much to be grateful for once you open your eyes and you just look around. So day starts with gratitude. Then I get my morning run in, jump in my ice bath, do some recovery there. I'm a firm believer if you do something that challenges you first thing in the morning, it sets the day up to be easy. So I like to jump in the freezing water, sit there for a little bit. It gives me some clarity as well. And then I know I could tackle anything else that comes in the day. Then I'll come in, make some protein pancakes, some turkey bacon eggs for the family, have breakfast with the family, go back out, start doing some client work, whether I have clients that day or if I'm on set shooting, either way, but I'll get some work done. I'll go hit an afternoon workout. And then normally, if things went perfect, I'm normally done with my day by 1 or 2 because I start around 5:30. I get up at 5, so I start my day around 5:30. I'm normally done by about 1 or 2. I might have a couple meetings in the afternoon, but I'm normally done by 1 or 2, and I spend the rest of the day with the family.
What time do you
And
go to
that
bed?
to me is that's I'm sorry?
What time do you go to bed? Like
So
roughly.
normally, ideally in a perfect world, it's about 9:45, 10, but I'm normally asleep by 11.
Okay.
So I normally go to sleep by 11, get up about 5. Every once in a while, I'll get about 4:30 if I have an earlier shoot day to get things done. But I try to get at least 5 to 6 hours of sleep. And then one day every 2 weeks, I'll allow myself to sleep until 6:30. It just gives me a reset. Um, yeah, so that's kinda that's my, like, non-negotiable, just a perfect day where it's that perfect blend of, um, filling myself up in the morning, because once you can fill your own cup, you can use all of that spillage to fill everybody else's cup. So I do that before everybody wakes up, having that morning with my family, helping people, servicing my clients, or being on set entertaining people, and then spending the rest of the day with the family. To me, that's just it's the perfect day.
That's awesome. Now, this wasn't on my list of questions that I had here, but it made me just think as you're talking about all of this. When, you're a very positive person and you have all of these things we've talked about your great days and how you kind of start your your non-negotiables and your different things like that you have. But you've got to have a bad day here and there, you know? What do you do when you have those bad days? How do you navigate those?
Okay, so ever since I've started on this path with the G code and everything, I don't have any bad days. I have bad moments. I've never had a bad day since then. I had bad moments because I understand that the next moment you can change the trajectory of everything by just shifting this perspective and looking at it through camera A than camera B. So, do I still go through many bad moments in a day? 1000%. But two things that I do. Number one, in the grand scheme of things, is this really that bad? Is this
Uh,
really that bad of a moment? Or is
uh,
it just a little speed bump? Let's
uh,
put things into perspective. Nobody passed away. Nobody is sick. We have a
mhm.
roof over our head. So is it really that bad or is it just a speed bump? Let's put it in perspective, because when you put it in perspective, it stops you from spinning out of control and letting it snowball into a bad day. So let's put it in perspective. And then from there, anytime, anytime, this is the secret, anytime you are having a bad moment, go back to the G code. Find the gratitude in your life. Find the things you can be grateful for, because it will center you, it'll give you more clarity, and it'll give you perspective over this bad moment and what needs to change. Because then once we start going through the G code in that bad moment, we then take ownership. Hey, if this happened, I can change it. Did you just get in a fight with your spouse? Did something bad happen at work? Did you get injured? Cool, let's take ownership. How can we flip this? Because I'm the constant in every result of my life, and then change the trajectory of the day. And I always say that to my even to my 2-year-old. She woke up this morning, oh my goodness, just crying, screaming for no reason. She's normally an angel. And I'm like, okay, baby, let's go lay back down and let's go reset. Because clearly at 2, she's not going to fully understand the G code, but there's something off. We don't need to have a bad day. We're having a bad moment. So how can we change this? So from here on out, nobody ever has to have a bad day. You can have a bad moment, but how is this moment shaping you for the better, and how can you use it for your future self? Because
Yeah.
everything is a lesson. Everything is a lesson, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm so positive, because I can't have a bad day. It's impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible to have. I
I
have
love
bad moments, but I'll shift it immediately.
Yeah, no, I love that. When I was talking about kind of in my 30s, like early 30s, I started kind of shifting things around a lot. And that was one of them. Was I found, like, in human nature, it's so easy to we tend to gravitate a lot towards the negative,
Yeah.
so much more than the positive, right? And I remember and I've told this story before, but I remember being, on Facebook and some of its early days and, stuff like that before it was all marketing, you know,
Yeah, yeah, right,
you
right.
know, when people were still posting like their day to day stuff. But people were going on there and I was noticing that like people just kept like putting up this stuff of like, FML, like all the time,
It's terrible. Terrible.
and it was all the time, and then when they would put up what it was for, like, why they were saying that, it was the tiniest little things,
Yep.
like, the dog crapped on the floor, or and they had to clean it up, or the tire was flat, or I mean, it was just like these little things. I'm like, "That is not an F my life situation."
Not even close.
That's
Not
not
even
even
close.
close.
But
And
but
I just kept seeing it over and over again. And I'm like, so I decided at that point, I'm like, you know what? Um, I'm not going to sit there and let myself keep sitting in this negative. And we had a friend of ours, really close family friend, her daughter got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes right around that time too. And like she had to quit her job. She had to everything because like she was having to like wake up in the middle of the night, like every couple of, every hour or so to keep like blood testing her daughter to make sure that her blood sugar didn't go down so low that she would die in the middle of the night. Right. Cause that's kind of where how severe hers was. And, so that family was like struggling a lot. We that was kind of I sat there and I just started thinking about I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, my kids are not sick like that. I don't have to worry about whether or not my kid's going to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a possibility of something, I
Of
mean,
course, of course.
in universe. But I mean, in the generally speaking, I'm not worried about that. I go to sleep. I expect that we're all waking up in the morning. There's nothing to worry about. I'm not worried about any of these things. And here I am looking at negative things all the time. I'm not like an FML kind of situation, but I mean, it was like I would find the negative in all kinds of things. I'm like, nope. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to find a positive in everything. Every day I had to find something that was good in the day that I was grateful for with that day. And if I was having a rough day where I was having a hard time finding a positive in whatever it was, it might just be like you said, the family's healthy.
Yep.
Nobody
See,
died
see,
today.
see, see, look at you. Look at you using the G code. You're using gratitude before you knew what the G code was because it
I
because it
was
works.
It
What you
does.
focus on grows, it intensifies.
Mhm,
And if you look at somebody going through it in life and their life is really bad right now, if you
mhm.
talk to them, you'll notice they're just focused on the negative. Everything that comes out of their mouth is negative. And then you look at someone who's having a great life and all they do is smile and talk about the positive. So you're looking like, wow, it's this easy?
Yeah.
Let's get back to simple. This person focused on negative, their life's not going well. He focused on positive, life's going okay, let's do this, right? Because you get to choose what you want to focus on. Turn off the dang news.
Yeah.
Stop. The news is just over there. It's all it's doing is feeding you negative information, putting you in this fight or flight mode. Stop it. Turn it off. Like, oh man, yeah, focus on the positive.
All the time. I mean, I was crying on the couch one day and I'm just like, "I can't find anything positive. It's just awful." I was like, I mean, I was losing it. And I
Mind
happened to
you, you have a couch to cry on. That's something,
well, there
you
was
have a
that too,
couch.
but I couldn't even think of that as a positive
Right?
that day. It was so hard. My brain was all kinds of crazy. And I sat there and I looked out my window and we had a honeysuckle bush that outside and there was this monarch butterfly that was like flying over there and it kind of landed on the flower and then it just kind of flew off and I'm like, that's my positive. I was really lucky to see that butterfly today.
Hey, whatever it takes, you found something though. You found something.
Couldn't see the couch that I was sitting on, but I noticed the butterfly.
But that's so cool because that whole, like this whole flip of everything started with a monarch butterfly. You found something. You just said, hey, the sun is shining. I'm grateful the sun is shining. Hey, I'm grateful there's oxygen today, right? You found the littlest thing, but it gave you that perspective that you needed. And then look at you now.
Yeah, exactly. And that was really where a big change was for me. And it was as soon as I started grabbing that gratitude, everything else started shifting.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that. I love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a funny story, but it just goes and it proves exactly what you're talking about right here,
Right?
G codes. Okay. So, my last question is this, and it's a little more of a serious question. If you had at the end of your life, everything you built and everything you taught was gone, but you could leave one message that people would remember forever, what would it be?
Message. It would be, you are loved. You are loved. I feel for everybody that fully knows they are loved and truly loved, they know their potential is limitless. And a lot of times we downward spiral because we think nobody loves us or cares about us. Nobody's there for us. But if you truly knew you were loved by so many people, there's so many people that love you, family, friends, your creator, that you are loved. And when you understand that, you can really unleash your power to the world. So that's one thing I always ask my kids this. Hey, how do you know daddy loves you? And they'll tell me, oh, because you tickle me. Oh, you wrestle with me. Oh, you do a puzzle with me. Whatever the case is. So I just double down and do more of that. Ask my wife, how do you know I love you? Oh, because you work hard for us, because you're always here. You do, okay, cool. I'll double down and do more of that because that's the way you know you are loved. And so once you know you are loved, you know that you can accomplish anything. So that would be the one message I would leave to everybody is you are loved.
Yeah, that's a really powerful place to end right there, Gian.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah. I really appreciate the conversation today. This was great. I had so much fun on here. I hope you did too.
I did. I had a blast. You know me, I'm all about it. This is fun. I'm glad we got to hang. I mean, we've been talking for almost 2 hours now, and I know we could probably go for another two. This is
No,
amazing. This so much fun.
this was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you
So,
for having me on. I really appreciate it. Like, thank you. I don't take these opportunities lightly. Like, this is so
uh,
much, means so much to me. So thank you so much for bringing me on your podcast.
yeah, absolutely. So, all right, everybody, make sure you go and you hook up and see Gian and talk to him and go, get that G code. At the very least, go get that book
Yes.
and, find your gratitude. All
Yes.
right. We'll talk to everybody soon. See you guys next week. If you'd like to see more episodes like today, make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss a thing.